In the depths of the wilderness, a pregnant German shepherd fought against the odds, searching for safety as labor began. Alone, weak, and vulnerable, her cries echoed through the forest. Just when all hope seemed lost, a ranger appeared, and what unfolded next became a miracle no one could forget. The forest was quiet, broken only by the rustle of leaves in the wind. Through the shadows moved a German shepherd, her body heavy with the weight of new life. Each step was slow, her swollen belly swaying as she searched desperately for shelter. She had no owner, no home, only survival to guide her. Her ribs showed faintly beneath her fur, proof of the hunger she had endured. Every few steps she paused, panting, her ears flicking at the sounds of the wilderness. The scent of predators lingered in the air, and danger seemed to lurk behind every tree. Still, she pressed forward, guided by instinct stronger than fear. As the sun dipped behind the trees, a sharp pain gripped her sides. She froze, her breath catching. The time had come. Alone, with no one to protect her, she lowered herself onto the damp earth. The forest was vast and uncaring, but tonight it would become her birthing ground. The German shepherd stumbled beneath a rocky overhang, her breaths coming in short, ragged bursts. The ground was cold and uneven, but it offered some shelter from the night air. She circled weakly before collapsing onto the dirt, her body trembling as another wave of pain struck. The first contractions had begun. Her cries rang out, sharp and desperate, echoing into the emptiness of the forest. She pressed her muzzle into the ground, whimpering as she pushed through the pain. For any other creature, it might have been just another sound of the wild, but hers carried something different, an unmistakable plea for help. Minutes felt like hours as the struggle continued. Her body shook with exhaustion, yet she refused to give up. Between each cry, she licked her paws and belly as if willing herself to stay strong. Still, the forest remained silent, indifferent to her suffering. Alone, she fought through the night, her voice carrying farther with every painful breath, until, at last, someone heard. Ranger Michael was making his late patrol, his boots crunching against the damp forest floor. The storm had passed, but the air was still heavy, and the forest unusually quiet. That's when he heard it, a faint, broken cry drifting through the trees. It wasn't the howl of a wolf or the call of a bird. It was something raw, filled with pain and desperation. He paused, straining his ears, and there it was again. The sound pulled at his chest, urging him to move faster. Michael adjusted his flashlight, weaving through the underbrush, his heart pounding harder with every step. The cries grew clearer, echoing with a tone that felt almost human. Finally, he pushed past a cluster of branches and froze. Beneath the shelter of jagged rocks lay a German shepherd, her belly swollen, her body writhing in the grip of labor. Her cries pierced the night, and her eyes glistened as they met his. Michael felt the weight of her plea without a single word spoken. In that moment, his instincts took over. This wasn't just a patrol anymore, it was a rescue, and he knew he couldn't turn away. Michael crouched low, careful not to frighten her, though he knew she had little strength left to resist. The German shepherd lay trembling, her body heaving with every contraction. Then, with a final desperate push, the first tiny puppy entered the world, weak and slick with life. The mother immediately turned, licking it clean, nudging it closer to her warmth. Another wave of pain gripped her, and she whimpered, straining once more. A second pup followed, just as fragile, its tiny whimpers barely audible over the forest breeze. Michael watched in awe, pulling a spare blanket from his pack. He spread it across the ground and slid it gently toward her, offering some barrier against the cold earth. The mother licked her pups again and again, her instincts stronger than her exhaustion. They nestled against her belly, searching blindly for warmth and milk. Michael's chest tightened as he realized he was witnessing something miraculous, life fighting to begin in the harshest of places. And though she was weak, the mother's eyes burned with one clear message: she would protect them, no matter what. For a few moments, the forest felt still, as though honoring the fragile miracle that had just unfolded. The two newborn pups nestled weakly against their mother, their tiny bodies rising and falling with shallow breaths. Michael allowed himself a small sigh of relief, but then he noticed the change. The mother's body stiffened, her eyes wide with strain, yet nothing followed. She pushed again, harder this time, her cries echoing sharply in the night. Still nothing. Her breathing grew shallow, her tongue hung from her mouth, and her strength began to falter. Michael's heart pounded. Something was wrong. Another pup was trapped inside, and both lives hung in the balance. He inched closer, speaking softly, his hands trembling. "Hang on, girl. You're not alone." The mother's gaze met his, filled with pain and desperate trust. He knew he couldn't leave her here. With careful urgency, he wrapped the pups in his jacket, secured the mother in his arms as best he could, and lifted her trembling frame. The path ahead would be perilous, but Michael had no choice. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was a fight against time, and failure meant losing everything. Michael burst through the ranger station doors, his jacket cradling the whimpering pups while the mother lay weak across his arms. "Emergency!" he shouted, his voice cracking with urgency. The on-call veterinarian rushed forward, eyes widening as she saw the dog's labored breathing and trembling body. Within seconds, the mother was placed on a table under harsh white lights, the pups carefully set in a warm incubator nearby. The vet worked swiftly, her hands steady yet urgent. "There's another pup," she muttered, examining the mother's swollen abdomen. "But she's too exhausted to deliver." Michael's stomach knotted as he gripped the edge of the table, helpless to do anything but watch. The mother let out a faint whimper, her eyes searching the room until they found him. Hours seemed to compress into seconds as the vet and her team worked tirelessly. Oxygen, fluids, gentle pressure. It was a dance between life and death. Finally, a tiny cry pierced the room. The last pup had been delivered, fragile but alive. Relief surged through Michael as tears welled in his eyes. The mother exhaled deeply, her head dropping back in exhaustion, but her pups, every single one, were alive. The clinic fell into a rare silence, broken only by the soft squeaks of the newborn pups. They nestled together inside the incubator, tiny paws twitching as they searched for warmth. Michael stood frozen, hardly believing what he was seeing. Hours ago, he had feared none would survive, and yet here they were, alive, fragile, and full of promise. The mother German shepherd stirred, lifting her weary head. Her eyes landed on her pups, and with trembling effort, she rose enough to press her nose against them. A soft whimper escaped her, but this time it wasn't sorrow, it was relief. She licked each one tenderly, her love wrapping them in comfort stronger than any blanket. Michael felt a lump rise in his throat. He had witnessed rescues before, but this was different. This was a miracle born not just from medical skill, but from a mother's unyielding will to protect her young. As the pups settled against her belly, he knew this moment would stay with him forever, a testament to love's power against impossible odds. Days later, the ranger returned to the clinic, and what he saw warmed his heart. The once weak mother now lay peacefully on a soft blanket, her pups nestled tightly against her belly. Their tiny squeaks filled the room, a song of life where silence once threatened. Michael crouched beside them, a smile tugging at his lips. The miracle he had witnessed was now thriving before his eyes. The German shepherd looked up at him with calm, grateful eyes, as though she understood he had shared in her fight. In that moment, it was clear, this was not just survival, but a new beginning.